So what you're saying is I need to go drop some peyote and...
Absolutely. Oh my God.
Oh my God, there's no freaking way I could do that at this point in my life.
In this stage of your life?
No, I'm too old. Like honestly, I think, did I tell you?
You had that. You were you were telling, was it Dave?
Yeah, maybe Dave.
Dave, you were talking about it. I was like, nope, you're too old to be doing that. You're not 18 anymore. You can't be doing any hard substances.
No, because you can't have like this sense of mortality,
right?
And do these things,
right, exactly.
You can't, in my opinion.
There's no self-preservation when you're a teenager.
Yeah,
you're like, I can jump off this building. Why not?
Well, right, but and when you're about to turn your brain inside out, like if you're an adult with responsibilities,
right?
Like you can't do that. Comfortably.
I've never turned my brain inside. Can you imagine my brain turned inside out? Holy
with the use of
God,
of extra things.
Which is, honestly, I think that's why that I'm not allowed. That's why I developed an allergy to mushrooms. I've never been allergic to, but I'm not, because I had the thought of, I want to try, psilocybin and see about, access. No, I'm not allowed to do that. Mm-hmm. I'm not allowed to do anything. I'm not even supposed to really be drinking alcohol. And I had that argument. But it's so funny because I find myself very, very rarely having alcohol anymore. Mm-hmm. Because it takes me I had 2 drinks on Halloween and I was like, I did the Irish goodbye. Like, see ya. And, and went home and it was just like, it took me a full 2 days to recover from 2 drinks. Now, granted, those are probably a little bit of a strong drink because I know the bartender has a heavy hand. Yeah, I'm not allowed to do anything because it's almost like, for me, you're not going to learn what you need to know by that. You're not going to gain the wisdom that you need to have. This is all has to be experienced the old-fashioned way. Right. And,
Wait a minute. No.
Like,
no, the old-fashioned way, those bitches were getting hammered.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
The old-fashioned way, they were smoking.
Then I'm gonna say the hard way.
Okay. I was gonna say, like,
there's no shortcuts. No shortcuts at all.
Oh, by the way, welcome to Frequency Talk.
We're in a new setting. I don't know if you didn't watch the tarot reading. We're in my home, so welcome into my home. The shop had a little bit of a furnace issue, and so it's not good to be sitting in there. The fumes will kill you. Yeah. We're not supposed to say the K word or the D word, and that was the DEATH word on YouTube because they don't like that in that algorithm. But yeah,
the fumes will get you.
The fumes will get you. So here we are, and honestly, we really like it.
Yeah, well, I really like your home anyway.
Well,
it's very comfortable and pretty. Like my kids would, like, I swear, if my kids ever come here,
and they will, because you had me for dinner.
Yes.
At your lovely home as well.
Thanks. My home will someday, like.
My daughter has a panic attack when she comes here or goes to wherever I'm living. Has a panic attack when she brings her boy. She's like, and I'm like, don't worry about it. They're just playing with stuff. And she'll be like running around after them. Like, well, I mean, to be fair, Crew loves the, Jack says too, but Crew loves to grab the crystals that I have lying around. And he also loves to throw things. So, but he's so funny because the very first time that he came to my house when I was living in Tennessee, I had my crystals around, and of course he loves them, and he never drops them. He's very careful with them, and he keeps them. But we kind of took everything from him and put it up on the table. So every time he would come to the house, he would go to grab the crystals, but he would take them and put them on the table out of his own reach because he thought that was what he was supposed to do. Because one time, yeah, I mean, all my babies are next level. They're I mean, I think all kids are right now. I mean, the kids that are born today are not like the kids that were born, like my kids. I mean, I love my kids, but they were just normal kids. Like they just were, they weren't, you know what I mean? Like, and they're intelligent children, and they were, they did all the things, but it was just like not to the level that kids are now. They have such an awareness, and they're up here. Like their intelligence is just skyrocketed, and their connectiveness to the universe itself, like, is
well, I think
huge.
it also depends, somewhat on the parents, but also like how old is your daughter and her husband?
Both my kids just had birthdays, the 26th and 27th of October. So they just turned, my son turned 34 and my daughter turned 36.
Okay.
I don't know that's possible because I'm only 39.
Right, yeah. I mean, timeline jumping, that's how it's possible.
Time doesn't, it folds in on itself. So it's a different,
but, okay, so, and how old is her youngest?
her youngest is 2.
Okay.
He'll be 3 in January 21st.
So she's 34 when she had.
Yeah.
And
yeah, she's older.
like when you're, because I was 34 and 39 for my kids.
Right.
And when you have your kids older and you're older and you've gone through some shit.
Agreed. Yeah. And I was very young when I had my children. I was, so it was just like, yeah, I was still a child.
Right.
Like,
She was not.
I was not a child.
She was not a child.
I was an adult. I was 20, 22, 23.
Right. But I mean, when you look back, it's
in
like,
the grand
oh, God.
scheme of life,
Right.
if we want to talk about linear time,
then, I mean,
that I was still.
I mean, your brain's not even fully formed until you're 26.
Yeah.
Is like the new thing that.
Yeah, your frontal cortex is not, especially for men.
But I mean, like,
happening.
I when I was 21 and 23, like, I could barely be responsible for myself.
Well,
let alone babies and building a house
right.
and married and like a good person.
And
no.
I was not your typical, and neither was my husband at the time. We were building our first home when we were 22 years old.
Yeah,
21, I think. 20. Yeah, and we were building our first home. He had a stable. He was working. He had been working since he was 12 years old for his father's company, and by the time he was 18, he was already, actually I think he was like 16, and he was already a foreman in a concrete construction, and was very, very good at his job. So I feel I was never a child, and I just kind of skipped all that, went right from high school to being married to having children to creating a life for my children and creating that. But that was my path. But yeah, so even though I was very focused on my children and was, my kids, I didn't have that life experience to give them that you had for your children. Your children are, and I think a lot of people that have their children older are able to, it's a totally different thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way. I wasn't in control of my emotions enough in my 20s to be able, and I wouldn't have learned with my kids, or I would have been learning along with my children,
right?
And like that would not have been a healthy thing for me and them. Like, that's what I know about myself. Yeah. Yeah. But
it's
not that anyone was bad or wrong. It's just the difference in being, in knowing and allowing yourself. Like, I also grew up in a fairly stable environment.
Right.
Like, I had the ability to fuck off.
Yeah, I didn't have that.
Yeah. Like, and it was just my best friend. She also did not grow up in a fully stable environment. And so she, as well as like 21, 22, 23, she would get married, having her kids.
Yeah, my goal and the goal of, my husband at the time was to create a stable environment. We wanted that. We needed that for ourselves. And I mean, I literally raised my children in like a very beaver cleaver,
Right.
traditional, family structure, dinner, on the table at 5:00. The children helped set the table. We sat down together. We talked about their day. They had one meal. That's what, they had. It was the wholesome meal, but it was not like, and I feel so bad for parents now in a lot of ways because their schedules are insane. And it's like they're not allowed to, or they're allowed, but it's very difficult, and it's just a different environment. And like we're literally living in a completely different world.
Yes.
Than when I raised my kids in the 90s, in early 2000s, and it's just a different.
But your kids, because I was raised in the 90s, and my sister and I both did sports. And
yeah, they did sports. Well, my son was not a team player so much, but he was into BMX bike riding and being a nuisance around the neighborhood, basically. And then my daughter played softball and things like that. But it was just, I mean.
So it's like, I know my husband, he and both of his brothers, they all played football. Because he and I were talking about our schedule with the kids. Yeah. Because now that I can't drive after 4 o'clock when it gets dark, he has to take on the brunt until like March of the shuffling around for activities. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, but me and my brothers all played football, practiced 5 nights a week.
Garrett tried that. That wasn't really his thing. And then he did karate for a while. Samantha pretty much stuck to softball. She was quite good at it. Mm-hmm. But, but our focus was on our home life. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, we supported our kids, in whatever they wanted to do. But, summers were spent, like, if we could go, would go camping and that kind of thing. Like, it was just a very traditional,
my husband was not
a 50s, 60s style home life, because that's something that
that's what
always wanted.
Right.
And I think that was something that, Dale had wanted too, and we wanted that for our children, and I made sure that happened for them.
And that's great, though, because you were able to do that.
Yeah.
And they, I'm sure, have very fond memories of a lot of that.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Though sometimes I think my children, that's another thing. Like, when your kids remember something that is literally not what happened. My son, he gets caught up in that. He's like, Mom, this happened. I'm like, it did not. Like, sometimes it's like that parallel reality. Like, what timeline are you in?
Well, maybe he is in that.
He is in a different timeline.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, is like, I deal with that with my parents a lot, is, the perspectives and remembering things differently.
Right.
And I know the difference is that I know that's going to happen with my kids.
Yeah. And I agree. And I think, but it's just something that it's weird when you, from this vantage point, knowing a lot about timelines, and I can see, like, I was not in that timeline, dude. Mm-hmm. Like, that did not happen. Right. Like, what are you talking about? And he is probably my daughter is not so much, but he is, like, definitely, like, where are you? Where are you? I need to put your face on the milk carton because you're not in my world right now.
No, I mean, I think from the perspective of timelines and things shifting and jumping and whatnot, it's interesting because there are a lot of things that I remember that my parents don't. And I'm just like, how?
Right.
How?
Right.
Like, this is a trauma thing. I've been to fucking therapy for this.
Yeah.
Like, like, I didn't just dream this up,
right.
But at the same time, like, it is, whether it's a timeline thing, maybe whether it's a selective memory thing, whether it's just the passage of time.
Right.
And things shift and situations condense and timelines meld together, it's the parent to child to parent, like, paradigm.
Yeah, and
it's so weird.
I do want it noted that some of the stuff that my son says he remembers is not backed up by anybody else. It's like, everybody, like, where are you?
Right.
Yeah, lost in space somewhere. You know, and it's just like, but yeah, and it's just, I just watch the kids now, and how it doesn't matter what parent, what age a parent is having them, they just are more, they're more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're just so much more.
I think there's a lot of ability for kids to be more now.
Yes, that's true too. That's true.
You know, like,
yeah.
there is a lot, like, kids are given more respect in a way.
Right.
Like,
it's not sit there and be quiet, which is
Right.
what used to be the dictate when I, like
when you
know,
were
when
a
I
kid,
was a kid,
that's,
you know,
yeah.
back in the 1900s.
I was in the 1900s too.
But back, you know, kids, yeah, you know, kids are seen to have an opinion or have value, or, you know, like, they're sometimes they're a little bit too much.
Yeah.
You know, I think you still have to be a parent, but you care about your kids' feelings now. You're like, your kids are like, your feelings are get validated, but also you're taught to, and I'm very aware of this too. Like, when I talk to my grandkids, I'll say, you know, very much of I'm like, oh, are you, you know, how do you feel about something? Like, did that make you happy? Did that make you, you know, because it's all about them understanding that they're not needing to look externally for their validation.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, you must have been really proud of yourself. And they're like, yeah, I really was, you know? And I think that I'm very aware of doing that, you know, and making sure that I do that when I just say, oh, you know, good job, or wow, you're good. You know, it's not because we naturally teach our children to seek external validation. As soon as they start doing anything,
right?
You know, you sat up, yay! You know, and it's not, you know, you don't need to get crazy with that kind of thing, you know, but it's in all of that, making sure that you check in with the child and just like, how do you feel about that? You know,
and also though, looking at, like, for me, because examining why I'm reacting the way that I'm reacting is just as important.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
I will not fight with my kids over their clothes, what they choose to wear. My
Right.
kids wear some off the wall stuff.
Yep.
And I don't care.
Right. And
my oldest daughter she got a mohawk when she was 4, and she has had a side of her head shaved since then.
Yeah, Callie is very much her own person.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's like, and people are like, wow, that's so awesome, it's so cool that she does that. It's like, yeah, I just, like, and other
it's
other
not a hill
parents
that you
are like, I
wanted to
could
die
never.
on. You know what I mean? It's like,
it's not. It's like, I just that, I'm gonna make sure you brush your teeth.
Right.
I'm gonna make sure you wash your butt.
Right. Yeah.
You know.
It's the normal things, but there's certain things that.
But you think about it, like, there are a lot of times when it's like, you know, people, you'll hear, I have heard my friends arguing with their kids over stuff. I'm like, why do you care about that?
Right, because it's
and
societal.
It's like, it's a power.
Right, and it's conforming. Like, we normally. So here's the thing. Back in, you know, when the world was not as developed, we needed to conform to what society, I think we even talked about this before, like, we needed to conform to what society found was acceptable in order for us to be safe,
right? To
stay in society, to stay in, you know, the town and be protected, you know, so you couldn't stand out, you couldn't be different. That was an uncomfortable thing and dangerous, you know, not only for you, but also for your family.
Right.
So it's in our DNA to want to conform, to be like everybody else. And so a lot of times, I was just talking about this yesterday to a couple of girls, and it's like, you're not allowed to be different because that makes me feel different as your parent. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
That makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't want that light shown on me that I have a child that's different. You know, and I think that we have gotten for a good part of that past that kind of thing. You know, where now it's perfectly fine. Yeah.
In New England.
And it's going to, it's different everywhere else. And it's also different from family to family,
right.
you know? And these are all still, because everybody's in their own timeline. Everybody's in their own, you know, stage of development.
It's just such a big ball of lit up weird energy stuff. Like, I'm just like this spaghetti ball.
Yeah, like
the energy,
right?
Just like all tangled and
you
twisted
know?
and wound up. And
the fun part is, and can also be exhausting, is where you have your own self-awareness of why you feel the way you feel about certain things, and how, okay, my child's doing this, why is that bothering me? Because the issue typically isn't with the child, it's with you.
Yes,
you know?
Exactly.
You know, and it's just like, okay, I need to do a deep dive on that, and that's learning that self-awareness, and that's evolving. Evolving not only, you know, as a person, but as a soul. You know, it's realizing where you might be projecting,
right?
You know, where you're projecting your own fears and insecurities and doubts onto somebody else, and in this case, your child or whatever. Because you feel like you have to, you know, your child has to have matching socks, you know.
My kids have not had matching socks ever.
My daughter's children have matching socks. My son's children, no.
But, you know, and it's interesting, there has been, since my beginning of this,
your expansion
last November, it's almost a year now.
Yeah.
You know, like, I recognize that I did not have religious trauma to associate with religion in this lifetime. Like, I did not. Nothing bad had happened to me. Nothing overtly bad had occurred to me personally because of religion. But every time, like, my kids, like, the question of God would come up, or the question of them, like, getting baptized or whatever, it was an immediate fuck no, like, not happening. And but I couldn't even begin to understand why, until I started diving into this and past life stuff, and, you know, the realization that there was probably some
trauma in your DNA that you're held on to, just belief in your cellular energy that
which is a total mind trip.
That person,
be like, you know, I have memories from 16 something of being persecuted for whatever, and now I'm getting mad at my kid in 2025.
But the thing is that where you can kind of alleviate some of that is knowing that it really didn't happen to you in 16 something.
Right.
And, you know, your DNA experienced that. Maybe your soul fractal that you're embodying in that timeline is experiencing that. But everything is in the now. Right. So, like when we experience deja vu, you know, that's just crossover of another timeline. Like, you might have experienced that in a different timeline, and now it's playing out in your reality now. So you're like, oh, why do I remember this? Well, because in another timeline it already happened. Yeah.
I'm like that meme with all of the math stuff.
Yeah, it's like the
I don't get
loading. You know,
it's like I can logically hear the words and be like, okay, I understand that, but then when I really start thinking about it, it's just.
To me, for me, and I understand that feeling because I was like that before. All of a sudden I had an understanding of it, and now it's like, it almost feels like a relief, like, oh, it's like a weight, like, I don't know how to explain it. It's just like, it's just an understanding of something now, like, oh, okay, yeah, that totally makes sense because everything is happening now, so I'm feeling all of these things from the perspective of my oversoul, because my oversoul is incarnated into all of these different fractals that are all happening at the same time. So, and then of course the cellular memory of your DNA as well holds, literally holds memory.
Right.
So you're not only experiencing it from a cellular level in your particular DNA package, but you're experiencing it from different fractals of your oversoul incarnating, having those experiences right now in the now at the same time. And to me, that's like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense, and that's such a relief to know. Like, it just feels like I get that, like, so it doesn't. But I also remember when I had no, like, somebody would say something talk about quantum mechanics or and I would just be like, what? Like, and then I woke up one day and I just knew it, or I woke up and I was having a conversation and all of a sudden I was just talking about it like I knew what the hell I was talking about. But basically that's just me tapping into the oversoul part of myself, which has a full understanding of everything that's happening, and everybody can do that. It just takes work and takes time, and you need to be open to receiving it.
So do you think, like, we've talked about your journaling in the past and the things that you've done in your own particular journey, do you think that there was something that you did particularly over time that allowed this? Was it all of it together? Was it, just...
For me, like, I did get asked, like, how do you do that? Like, how do you how do you work on yourself? Like, how do you get that introspection? And for me, my journey was atypical. It was not what most people are going to experience, and I had to learn that in a completely different way than say you did. For me, my journey was very much to be taken out of the mainstream of life, and and I had to be basically brought down to my very foundations, and part of that was because it came to my attention yesterday. Actually, it was like, okay, yeah, and I'm still working on stuff too, but it came to my attention like, okay, I understand that why I was taken away from everything and everyone that I loved or thought thought was good for me, or because for me being such an I literally feel like I am love. Like my soul, and yours as well, but I actually feel the unconditional love of my soul. Not only, for myself, but for others. But before that, everything that I had ever done in my life was for everyone else. And I didn't know who I was. I didn't have any idea who I was supposed to be, because everything was externally validated. Everything was, I do this for this person because I love them and I want them, and everything, I want them to be happy. And so, but I didn't know how to make myself happy. That was never even a thought. Like, who I was, what I wanted to be, how I wanted to be. All of that had to be stripped bare, because, and I couldn't, like, even relationships, like, I wouldn't have been able to be in a relationship because where I didn't know how to not be the other person. I didn't know how to keep myself separate from somebody else in my life. So therefore, everybody else had to go away, in some capacity, and I was completely isolated and was forced to do it because I was channeling and learning how to channel and learning what I'm doing with these voices that are in, the voice in my head, and I'm gathering information, and it was like I'm giving more and more and more, and then my body had to constantly recalibrate all the time because I couldn't I had to integrate all of this information. The human body can't handle a dump of information all at once, because it causes a lot of problems when that happens. Like, we are not capable of integrating that information, you know, in a large capacity all at once and still remain in this vessel.
Right. We're not computers.
We're not computers. And so our bodies are constantly upgrading in order to process the information that we're getting. And so for 2.5, 3 years, I couldn't function as a normal person, because my goal was to learn all of these things and process all of this information that I was constantly getting, and still I just got a huge wave of dizziness, and still remain in my body, you know. And so that's, for me, was a totally different journey than, say, you, where you have a family and you're doing all those things, but you're expanding, but at a more comfortable level. Even though you have fast tracked as well, because as you become more used to receiving that information, you're more capable of processing it a little bit quicker. You know, it's going from like a 1985 computer to a 2025 computer. Like, it takes, you would never be able to, and expecting 2025 information to be in a 1985
right
computer, that's not going to happen. It would be the blue screen,
you know, screen of death.
Yep. And that, but that's literally what happens to the body as well. So it takes time. Now, was I on an accelerated path? Yes. You know, and I needed to do something that was far more difficult than most people will ever have to do, because they don't need to have all of that information at once. My guides and my, you know, and my own expectation of myself, what I came into this world to do, that needed to be the case, you know. But now it's like, now I do know, because I didn't know what boundaries were. Like, I had no idea about any of that stuff. Like, I am not this virgin. 5 years ago, I was just a normal person. Yeah, I kind of dabbled in some things and had interest in things, but I'm not this version of me. This is a completely new entity, you know. And I've been upgraded multiple times, but I couldn't be in society. Like, I would try to, but it was so overwhelming. And then, you know, in bouts of depression, and like, because I went from being a very social, you know, I'm a Gemini. We love to be around other people and be fun, and I literally, and I would keep trying to do that, and I couldn't handle it, you know. And then, but it's been a journey, man. It's been a ride, you know. And it's hard too, because it's not like everybody, I sometimes I don't get me. You know what I mean? It's like, I can't expect other people to get me either, or resonate with me, because, you know, but that isn't the point. You know, that's a sacrifice that I had to make, you know, to not be normal, you know, in the grand scheme of things. I'm much more capable of integrating now and back into life, and being able to handle those things. But I also severely need quiet and downtime and processing time, and because when I don't have that, it's overwhelming. You know, I have to have that recalibration time. And the fact that right now, in particular, this is an apex point. There's a lot happening right now.
What makes it an apex point?
It's an apex point in the shift. And it's like, we've been building up, and I know people feel that energy of that buildup.
So are we at like this end of the pendulum swing? Is that kind of apex?
I want to say it's less of a pendulum swing and more of, it's almost, so the visual that they're giving me is, so say you take some saran wrap and you pulled it tight over like around.
Yep, you're putting it on the dish and pull it, and it gets
you're pulling
folded.
it tight. But then you're taking a pen and you're pushing upwards, and until you get to that point where that pen is going to break through that.
It can't be stretched anymore.
Right, and through that saran wrap. And then so right now, that's the feeling that they're giving me, is like we're at that point where it's finally going to break through, and you're finally going to see major things, major differences in your reality than, for most people,
That was the question I was going to ask.
Not everyone. Yeah. And nothing bad's going to happen to them, but it's kind of like a dimension shift or a timeline shift, it's just, some people will stay in this reality and some people won't, and it's not like Infinity Wars, it's
Thanos.
Yeah, right. That's not so much. It's just going to be more of kind of like what we were talking about, how when people remember things a different way, it's going to kind of be like that.
Yeah.
Because the human psyche can't process that kind of thing. We're not calibrated to do that easily. We've had huge advances in ourselves, biologically and technologically, in our society in a very short amount of time. When you really think about that, look how far humanity has come in certain aspects, but yet how very far that we still need to go, and how maybe back 1,000, 2,000 years ago, we were much more advanced than we were now.
Well, I was going to ask, like, is it that we're more advanced, or like, have we just forgotten how to do this?
Yes,
Be this?
and no. Yes and no. It's kind of like this similar thing, like where this was a civilization, and this civilization knew how to do far more advanced things than we ever know now. But things happen, things shift, and then we forget about those things because that timeline collapsed.
Yep.
So we had to start over, so to speak, but none of us are aware of that.
Right. But then we kind of are, right?
We have a knowing, sort of, kind of, and but a lot of it too is that we're being made more aware of that now than maybe we were even 2 years ago. Like, look at how many truths are coming to light now, like in how people. That's how integration works. So you're given a little bit more information than because you can handle it now. So as the frequency changes, your body gets calibrated and adjusts to the frequency, so then you can give a little bit more information. So now you're at a higher frequency, or you're remembering a higher frequency, because we're already at the highest frequency, because we're source. We are God source. We just forget that.
Right.
And so it's like slapping mud on glass, okay? And as your frequency, as you remember more, you're able to, that clarity grows, and that frequency comes more to light, and your body is able to catch up with that frequency, but that it still takes time, and it's just like we're capable of remembering things, or understanding things, or questioning things that we wouldn't have even thought to question before.
Right. That I understand.
Yeah.
That I can wrap my head around.
And that's how that integration happens.
Oh shit, I'm integrated.
Yeah, you're integrating. You're integrating. And because it's a constant thing, and you don't stop doing that.
No.
in this physical form. You're constantly, because once you get fully integrated, you no longer need the physical form. Right? But the goal is here, and I think that this needs to be talked about more, is there's a big struggle with people being present in their bodies. Because a lot of people don't want to be, they feel like they're not supposed to be here. They feel like they want to go home. They feel like they want to be back in their starseed energy, or back into source energy where you're free, because this is a very dense energy form to be in. It's the densest. And so they feel that longing of never feeling like they belong here. But the goal is you have to be present in your body. That is the key. You can't live up here all the time. You have to be, you need to feel this world. You need to integrate into this body, into this world, and learn to love what you're feeling. Because it's such a gift to be able to feel physically for the first time. Think about that. When we're in energy form, we're love. We're love, and we're peace, and we're harmony, and everything is the same. We choose to come into this vessel because we want to experience a bit of contrast. Now, does it have to be, or was it supposed to be as polarizing as it is? No, it wasn't supposed to be that way. And that's what's shifting. So we're trying to get back to being able to be in a body without all of the polarizing darkness to light, and feel more of a balance in that. But think about what you're allowed to do in this vessel. You can be tactile. I can feel you. We can't do that when we're just energy. We're not able to experience physicality, to experience with our eyes, to actually have eyes, and to visualize the beautiful sunset or a sunrise, or feel the water on our skin. And it's like, if you just stop and understand the gift that you chose to give yourself by being in this vessel, and how beautiful it is. We get to hold our loved ones. You know what I mean? Like, it's just on a completely different level. And that's what we're working towards, having that experience, but without a lot of the negative darkness that was brought into our experience that we don't necessarily want to have continue.
But isn't that negative darkness also a part of source?
Yes, because you have to have light to have dark, but does it need to be as extreme? Because we were talking about pendulum. Does a pendulum need to be so
like a pirate ship at the fair?
Right. We can still experience things because it's, when we're born, people in our life are going to die. We're going to experience those emotions, but it doesn't have to be as the way that it's been distorted to be, because that is the issue, is the distortion. So we're trying to, and we are succeeding at breaking away from the distortion in order to have the experience of Earth School without the huge devastating things that could happen, and have more of a sublime or nirvana. I feel like I'm quoting 90s rock bands. But that's what ultimately what the goal is to have the experience, but without such an extreme of darkness to light. Does that make sense?
I mean, yes.
Yeah. So
it also makes like my eyes just like.
Well, right. But the next time we talk about it, you might feel like, oh yeah, that makes sense, and you'll get it because now you're integrating that. So that's a new thing for you to try and conceptualize, you know?
Yeah.
And well, speaking of conception, I mean, that's a movie, you know, that.
Oh, that was Inception, you mean?
Inception, yeah. Or in conception, too, apparently. I don't know, I'm back to the womb. But from the reading, that was from the reading. For those that don't know. But yeah, Inception, like what, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. These are just information that comes through me. I'm no expert. It's just my opinion, you know?
But that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. What does this do to you folks? How do you feel about it? Let us know below what your thoughts are.
I mean, either way, it's going to make you stop and think.
Yeah.
You know, and you might not agree with me, and that's perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need anybody to agree with me.
I don't need you to.
Well, you know, and it's not my job.
No, it's not your job.
It's not my job to you know, and that's the beauty of Earth, is that we can have that differing of opinion and still be perfectly okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, this is the messages that I get, because as I'm talking, it's just free flowing through me. But I could also be completely insane. So
no, there's
probably
like
not.
The diagnostic manuals of whatever that DSMV thingy, whatever. You like, nah, you're not insane.
Yeah.
You don't have all the criteria.
Right. Okay. I don't meet that. All right. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I would love to know what other people have experienced and what their journey has been and where their beliefs have taken them and how your beliefs have shifted.
Yes. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, she's, what you say, like 4 or 5 years into your...
Yeah, probably about a little over 5 now.
Okay.
Really. But they were already gearing me up for that.
Right. So you're going into 5 to 6 years, 5, 6 years.
Yeah. Yep.
And coming up on a year.
Yeah. I mean, and obviously it wasn't in the beginning. It was still, I was very much,
mm-hmm.
you know, a train wreck going through, trying to go through because as I was starting that, it was all, my whole entire world was falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
But that was all by design.
Right.
So, you know, really it was more of the beginning of 2022 by the time, so 2 years of my life literally being obliterated.
Mm-hmm.
And then from 2022, you know, the beginning of 2022-ish, April, May, June, that kind of timeline was when I really started to do the self-work, because I was still dealing with the fallout of my life at that point.
Mm.
So really it's been since, you know, late summer of 2022 when I started going more down the rabbit hole of the internal journey.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So, and it's a work in progress.
Yeah. So let us know what hit you when, where you're at now.
Yeah.
In your stuff.
Yeah. And, you know, we're here for you guys as well. You know, we're non-judgmental, non-biased. We just want, you know, feel this is a safe zone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Amanda and I are a safe zone for you to express yourselves and to not be judged and criticized, or if you just want to talk about things. And you can always come to the store as well, Written in the Stars in Westerly, Rhode Island, 8 Canal Street, and gather and just talk about what you want to talk about, and we're always there to welcome you in that.
Absolutely. All right.
All right. Have a
we'll
great
see you
day.
folks next time.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.